Hello and welcome. This is going to be something a bit different. So I tend to always look for videos which tell you other animes to watch off of certain seasons. This one's going to be off of the Skeleton Knight in Another World anime. Something that is given, let's see, action fantasy, but also throw a bit of comedy in it. And there's quite a few animes kind of like this one that have came out. But some are harder to find and some are easier to find. So what I'm gonna do here is just go through some of the ones I would suggest watching, from like ones that are close to it to ones that are kind of just good watches that are kind of like the same sort of theme, or the same style. And I'll go through why I've explained or why I've picked each one for comparing it to this. So this is rated very highly with 7.31. It's quite a good score, to be fair, for a single season object that's releasing at the moment. So in a way, it's one of those animes with an overpowered main character that is basically just going around doing what an overpowered person would, and not really abusing his power for any sort of evil, and just trying to live even though he's got the curse on him. Then other ones like this, if you want the same style of play, is definitely one like one like Bofuri, where she's not really, well, to begin with, she's just sort of a tank. Then she gets more overpowered with more fun abilities. And it's got the same sort of vibe of power isn't actually meant to be there. They've gained it, like how in Skeleton Knight he's gained it through certain methods. Now it's not an isekai, and it's classified as a action adventure comedy, which yeah, I could agree with that. So it's got a similar sort of vibe. It's one that I'd say if you like the Skeleton Knight one, you will like Bofuri. It's definitely a more sit back and relax one. It's definitely a good pick if you like that. I think, what did I rate? I rated it a 9. There's a good chance the Skeleton Knight, if it keeps going where it's going, will get a similar sort of rating. Because sometimes you don't want an anime that just bores you to death with a lot of information. So that's why I would say Bofuri is a good one to go straight after the Skeleton Knight one. So if you like one, you'll probably like both. The only difference is this one's not really. It's got the same sort of style of overpowered main characters in a world, does something, but this one shows a lot more of the growth than the Skeleton Knight one. If you want one which the character starts off overpowered, the more recent one, which would be In the Land of Leodale, would be better for that, considering she starts off basically the same way Arc does, being ridiculously overpowered in the world and just sort of trying to live her life. This one's also classified as action fantasy. I do find these ones better for like casual watching. They're not something like One Piece that takes a long time, or Overlord that has a lot of information in it. And again, this is another one which I've rated highly. I like these little animes where they just sort of come out and they're a good watch. And this one, it doesn't have the comedy, but it can be quite like funny at some points in the actual anime. And how the character acts. Of course, I'd say she's probably a lot more chaotic than Arc is. Arc's trying to be good, whereas if she gets annoyed, she can get quite dangerous quite quick. That'd be another excellent one to watch if you like either of the Bofuri or the Skeleton Knight one. And in the same category as this, where you start with an overpowered main character, so this one's an isekai as well. The next one's an isekai, which is Kuma 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 Bear. Why I'd suggest this one? Same reason as the first two. It's a comedy, fantasy, action, overpowered main character, quite a relaxed, chill anime, not one you have to sort of learn any knowledge to. You can just sort of watch it. And another one that I've rated highly. I do like these animes, and it seems like I'm biased towards them, considering the last three that I've chosen I've liked, and I'm waiting to see if there's more seasons. I think Kuma Kuma Bear's getting another one, or it's got one. No, it's getting one. That's another one where with Yuna, and it's an isekai. So I would say that if you like those three, definitely give that a go. There's not much that can go wrong with. I would definitely say I'd prefer Kuma Kuma Bear over. If I had to rate them, probably Bofuri and Kuma Kuma Bear are the better two. And that's definitely why those three are the first three that I'd suggest. They're almost like so similar yet so different. They're great ones to watch. Oh, this one. Okay, this one again. She's a professed herself of the pupil of the wise man. Again, it's an isekai. A very overpowered main character. Action fantasy. Similar sort of vibe as the first lot, where sort of the overpowered main character does what they want and then helps out others more than other things. I'd probably say like this one's on par with so far Leodale and the Skeleton Knight one. But again, these are like the last four I've mentioned have all been good characters. Ark is good, but he is a skeleton, so he's kind of seen like he's a lich or something, but that's not what he is. So Kuma Kuma Bear, definitely one of my favourites. The Wise Man's Pupil is definitely a great one to watch. I like this one. There's a lot of fun exploring in it. And that could definitely do with another season. I wouldn't mind if it got another one. Or the next one. Okay, so this one is closer to Ark because it's a Demon Lord retry. Action fantasy, adventure. So he gets summoned in. Of course, he's a Demon Lord, so people treat him as if he's going to conquer the world, and it's not really his goal in the first place. He just sort of wanders around, explores, does what he wants, and fights people when it's needed. Now, this one's okay. I prefer the others beforehand, as it's rated lower. And this is where we're going to start to deviate a bit, because like these ones are all very common, like similar styles of casual relax watch. The next one, oh, it's the slime one. I thought I read the slime and saw the different one. Oh, so another one where the character's really overpowered because they've been in the world for 300 years. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. This one's, yeah, it's got comedy and fantasy slice of life. I don't know why it hasn't got action or something like that, or adventure, considering every episode they're doing something different, and normally something occurs in every episode, so it could probably have those two tags as well. Again, I've rated it slightly lower. I think that's just me being mean to this one. It is very good, but compared to like Kuma Kuma Bear, I'd rather watch Kuma Kuma Bear. I'd rather have another season of Kuma Kuma Bear. But again, like the Skeleton Knight one, overpowered main character sort of wants to mind their own business, and people pop up to challenge, and just a lot of things happen in it. And as you can see, a lot of the things from the last few have all been the same sort of style. The next one I'd suggest, Slime Diaries. Now, the reason why I haven't put the actual slime anime here instead is this is a lot more of the comedy aspect. Comedy fantasy slice of life. So if you are going to watch this one, I would suggest going and watching the first season of the slime anime, then this, then the second seasons. So I think that would work better. But if you're looking for just a comedy type of one, the Slime Diaries is the better comedy aspect of it. But I would also suggest watching all of it together. So again, like Rimuru, similar style to Ark, was a human, got transformed into or reincarnated as a monster, and then had to live as that. Of course, Ark is hiding that he's a monster, or a skeleton, or a curse, whatever he is, because it hasn't actually been stated fully yet. Definitely one up there. See, I've rated the Slime anime, I've rated a 10. It's the highest rating I'd give. I can't fault the Slime anime, it's a lot like my other animes I have as 10. One that I'm waiting for the next season, and I've read the manga as well now, so I'm up to date on it. And I think the next one's going to be Iseki, Cheap Magician. Again, overpowered character, gets trained, saves the kingdom sort of style. I can see Ark might be doing something similar to that. I don't know if he is, because I haven't read anything. Just one that I'd recommend if you've ran out of other stuff. It's rated lower than most, but again, I'm just going through all the ones that I think other people might consider watching on here. And The Eighth Son. Okay, so The Eighth Son, are you kidding me? Like the Skeleton Knight one. It's just sort of similar vibes. With an overpowered main character like Ark is. They're all very similar, so there's a good chance if you like one, you'll like all. Or if you don't like it, you might not like a character or something. So there are animes where I just don't like characters, and I won't give them a go if they've got an annoying main character. The Moonlight Fantasy one. Or the Moonlit Fantasy one. I'd say this one. It's more to do with like how overpowered he is. He kind of doesn't realise it. I suppose it's a lot like Ark using his teleportation and stuff. Where he fights really powerful enemies, makes them their ally. I suppose Ark hasn't fought anything on par with him yet. I suppose he didn't either, but in this one, the goddess is against him, even though he's a summon. So it's another one, action, comedy, fantasy, adventure. 7 is not too bad. It's one that I'd say, again, I'm going on the basis that most people have seen a lot of these, and I'm just trying to suggest a big bunch. So I'm not going to spend too long going for them. Faraway Paddlings, again. Very powerful entities train up one to basically save the world, and that's what Faraway Paddling is. Paladin, I said that wrong. Action, adventure, fantasy. This one is also isekai. Most of these are all isekai. It's one you could probably give a good go. But we're slowly deviating a bit, but we're still on the isekais. Another one with a powerful main character. Giving it a 6. It's not as good, but again, if you've seen all the ones prior, worth a watch. You might rate it higher than I do. Oh, and now we're on to one of my... This one is a bit harder to justify. So this one... The character's not overpowered, but it's a very funny anime. It's action, fantasy, sci-fi. It revolves around some very high power weapons that each kingdom has. And it's got kind of quite a deep lore for it, to be fair. But it's one that I could just sit back and watch, and I've watched it a few times. And it's one of the few, because I have a rule where I'm only going to have like 10 series in one thing. So Overlord counts as one. I'm not counting each season separately. But I wouldn't mind having more of this one. Definitely worth a good watch. It's funny, the characters' designs are quite different. I haven't seen many animes copy what it does. And that's why it's rated so highly. Ooh. Tenchi Mecha, or I can't say that, War on Gemina. This one, there are multiple different adaptations, but this one's my favourite one out of the lot. It is a mecha, Harem Isekai School. It should be adventure and fighting, but it isn't. So this is based around the main character being OP, and it's in an all-girls school pretty much. So it's very chaotic with comedy and him getting chased around. I've rated it very high up. It's probably one of my favourite mechas. It is one of my favourite mechas. But it's definitely more of a relaxed anime that you could watch off of something like Skeleton Knight. It's not really that in depth. It does go in depth more than Skeleton Knight and that sort of stuff. But it is a funny one to watch. Another generic isekai one. Overpowered main character, this time he takes his smartphone. Comedy, fantasy, adventure, and romance. Romance doesn't fall into it that much, but the harem tag does. So he's reincarnated. Another one. It's a semi-good one. I might play around with my ratings soon. By the Grace of Gods. Not a fighting anime. A little bit of fighting, but not really. It's more of a slice of life, and it should say down here. Slice of life action fantasy, where he's reincarnated. That one's a very good one if you want to give it a watch. More of a relaxing anime. More of all the relaxing animes I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting any majorly in-depth ones. And most of these have one season, which is really annoying for me, but it's a death march on a parallel world. Again, it's a overpowered main character. Isekai reincarnation. Goes around defeating high-level enemies. Trying not to show how powerful he is, but it doesn't work out in his favour there. Oh, I didn't even realise I opened this one. Drugstore in Another World. It's a weird one because it is definitely not a fighting anime, but comedy-wise and sort of relaxing to watch. Rated at 7. 7's fairly high, to be fair. Its average score is a bit lower than what I've rated it. I'm biased towards isekais. Definitely a funny one. If you want something more comedy-based, this is one you want to watch. I don't want to say too much about these, otherwise it might spoil it. If you want one instead of more comedy and more fighting, this one's a good one. In many ways, stuff doesn't go for him most of the time, and it goes against him. But he is quite powerful, but this one isn't starting off powerful, he trains to become powerful. His comedy fantasy, as far as it's not action, but if you watch this one, the ninja is one that you want to... The ninja is my favourite. I don't know if it'll have the ninja. It does, but it's not the actual name of the ninja. The ninja's not listed as ninja. I have a comedy one, comedy fantasy romance ecchi. See that I keep rating these higher. I know a lot of people watched Monster Girl Doctor thinking that it was Monster Musume. Just not. Which did bug some people. So it kind of got unfairly compared to that. That character's the best, though. Oh, and of course I was going to open this one. Comedy fantasy ecchi. So if you want to plunge a bit deeper into Species Reviewers, is one that is a funny old one. If you dare to watch it, then watch at your own risk. You can see it's rated R. Definitely one that I'd say any fan of anime should give a watch, at least. It shouldn't be one that people should avoid. Otherwise, stuff like what happened with Twitter on this and Crunchyroll happens again. Although the next one I'm going to suggest goes complete counter opposite of this one into the extremely dark, which is Redo the Healer. Now, the only reason this one's put on is because I have a really dark sense of humour. And there's one scene in the very beginning that it's just one scene that stands out to me. So, should have dark humour. But it is one I would say is worth a watch. It's getting very far away from that, but it's also one that I wouldn't classify as a serious one. It's more funny to include it. Oh, my favourite comedy, or one of my favourite comedies, Trigun. So again, overpowered main character roaming the lands. Now he's a bit unlucky because he's got a bounty on his head. And definitely I'm biased towards this because I rated it a 10 and it's also one I've watched in the very beginning. But if you're gonna watch something older and you want older comedy, Trigun. It's kind of more slapstick comedy. Going off topic now, I'm just going on to ones that like Seven Deadly Sins, good one to watch. High School DxD, more like these are relaxing ones that you could just sort of watch and idle, the same as Welcome to Demon School, Irin. We're getting a bit further away from Skeleton Knight. But it's like, when you look at them, I'm looking at more of how I watch them. So, going from Skeleton Knight to some more serious ones, I would say, is stuff like Hellsink, No Game, No Life are good ones. Two of my masterpiece rated. Comedy wise, No Game, No Life I like a lot. Hellsink doesn't classify as a comedy, but then if you watch the abridged series, it's definitely worth a watch comedy wise with overpowered characters. And then this one's kind of just a funny one. Trinity 7, action comedy. And then you got Nambaka, which is probably actually reasonably. It's like a very comedy based one. Action comedy. So they're ones I'd say if you've looked at Skeleton Knight and you like it, anyone on there is worth a try. Some were a bit more risky, but then if you just list off the basic ones, then everyone will list off probably the first 4 or 5. I just wanted to throw in some more with if I thought you'd like them, that they'd be worth a watch. So that's where I'm going to end it there for the Skeleton Knight in Another World. Definitely, I can't wait for this to finish. And I'm hoping it pulls up another season. That would be very good if it pulls up another season. So that's where I'm going to leave that. Again, definitely worth a watch of all the ones I've suggested. But the ones at the beginning are closer to Skeleton Knight, and the ones at the end are starting to push my luck with it there. It's definitely worth a go. I'm thinking of doing other ones like this, like maybe for Overlord and stuff like that, more serious ones as well. So depending on how this one does, I might do more, might not. So I'm going to leave it there.